Welcome to the Black Doll Affair. How are you guys doing?
Great.
There's a reason why we have everybody stop here before they get on the playground, and that is because we want each and every doll to understand what it is they become a part of. So many times you've learned about the Black Doll Affair through a girlfriend, or you were on Google and you're looking for a black doll maybe to buy, and up pops the Black Doll Affair. We want you to have a full understanding of who we are, because when you put on this t-shirt, you become spokesmodels for us. And the biggest thing that we want you to know is that our mission is to remind a black girl of her beauty. Period. We do that through the toy black doll. Everything else is secondary. The play dates, the philanthropic affairs, the Coco Lounge, which we'll talk about, like all that is fun stuff that dolls do. That's our playtime. But bottom line, all the time, reminding a black girl of her beauty. All right? So, when you're out and you show up like this, and let's say we're walking through a restaurant, one question everybody wants to know: who are they? What's going on? What happened? All of a sudden, it's a blackout. When that happens, we want you to be able to say exactly what we do, who we are. Not like, oh, Lisa, what should I tell them? Or where's Dana? You're a spokesperson now. So everything that I'm going to tell you tonight is relevant and important, and I'm giving you my version of the story, but make it your own. You know, you don't have to take notes. Just hear the story, make it your own, stick to the facts, but make it colorful. Okay? Cool? All right. I'm Dana Hill, and I am the founder of the Black Doll Affair. A couple years ago, I was a publicist in South Florida, and I was marketing for names like Dan Marino, Jason Taylor, Hollywood Mama, all of these mom-pop stores, all of these professional players, and I was a publicist and a marketer. And it was my job to publicize people and their product. And right out of college, getting a degree in television broadcasting and journalism, I got lucky, really lucky, and got a job working for Dan Marino, the biggest name in South Florida, arguably. And it just happened by fluke. I was going to dinner with a friend. He was going to dinner with Dan Marino. I needed a job because I was coming fresh out of college, and ended up at a dinner table with Dan and friends and scored a job. I became the director of marketing and publicity for Dan Marino's restaurants. That job lasted for 4 years. And it was the beginning of my career, but it was the ending of Dan Marino's career. But it was, right place, right time. Because, here I was, this young black girl, teaming up with Dan Marino, and he was opening these restaurant concepts and did not have a marketer for them. So at dinner, I said, hey, listen, who's doing the marketing and PR? And they said, we haven't even broken ground yet. And I was like, perfect, because I don't graduate until next week. The rest, as they say, is history. Fast forward, Dan starts talking about retiring. I've got, a great black book, so to speak. I've got the Budweisers and the Coca-Colas and the Miami Heralds and the Sun Sentinels, like a great portfolio for the who's who in terms of contacts. And I thought, I'm either going to be here after Dan or I'm going to do something different. And right now, it's Dan and Dana. And what are you going to do with that? And so I decided to open Hill Girl Inc. PR. And that took me into a career that was really unexpected, because while I was an event planner, I found myself doing a lot of marketing for professional sports players. And I don't know a thing about sports, still to this day. We don't want to tell Dan that. But, I started marketing people like Jason Taylor. In fact, my first really big event was for Jason Taylor. If you Google Jason Taylor is all I have to say. Fine. Fine specimen. But Jason Taylor really kind of started me on this career path of focusing on black people and their projects. And Jason had this calendar that he was promoting, and he totally put me in charge of it. And after that promotion, I really started to think and hear people like Jason say, because we had so many models that we booked that didn't show up, hey Dana, you know what, why are we waiting on these models that may or may not show? Why don't you do it all? You do it all anyway. You could be the face, you could be the marketer, you can be the brains behind the campaign. And I was like, you know what, that's a really good idea. And this was towards, the 7 years of Hill Girl Inc. And I started to get what they would call a 7-year itch. And the hurricanes was running my entire family out of South Florida. And I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So when he started to say that, I started to hear Patrick Surtain say that. And some of my other clients say, yeah, you know what, you can be our face and you can be our brains and you can be that it girl. So I thought, I'm not quite ready to move, but there might be something to this. And what I know for sure is not enough black projects, African American projects, are out there. So I created a campaign called God Spokesmodel. And that campaign was either going to keep me in South Florida working in my company in Hill Girl Inc., or I was going to move to New York. And, there's a obvious line between South Florida and New York. So I thought, well, you know what, we'll just throw it out there and see what happens. So I created a campaign called God Spokesmodel. And you guys have probably seen this photo, and if you've been at all in Meetup. And the idea behind this photo was for companies like Godiva Chocolate, for MacArthur's Milk, to look at my black likeness and go, duh, why didn't I think of that? A black girl marketing chocolate. A black girl marketing chocolate milk. So our team put together these packages that were going to go along with this billboard of my likeness. This is something different, but it was this photo. And it was my likeness, and it simply said, God Spokesmodel, Dana Hill, with a phone number, and my godspokesmodel.com. And we found a great location in Times Square, 52nd and Broadway. And it was 32 feet high, 20 feet wide. It was huge. And, I don't really have a big ego. I knew it was going to be obviously a big campaign, but like when you saw it, it was like, okay, that looks like a lot of ego. A lot of ego. We came around the corner, we're like, whoa. It was a really, 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 really big billboard for a really, really, really big, exciting campaign. The sky was the limit. I was onto it. I knew this was my next step. I was right across the street. This was my billboard, and right across the street was David Letterman Studios. Down the street was Oprah Winfrey Studios, and that way was, and I'm sure you guys all remember this, was Puff Daddy's billboard where he had the Black Power sign. And so it was a good time to be Dana Hill at the time. And it was exciting, and I had, this campaign that we kicked off, and we sent out press releases to Good Morning America and the Today Show and Nightline and CNN and Oprah and you name it. Everybody got the package. And the day that I kicked off was also the day that a rich millionaire put up his own billboard in New York City, and he was looking for a wife. And I didn't know about this until literally the morning that my campaign started. I started getting phone calls. There's this guy on Good Morning America, and they're featuring his story, and I guess he's looking for a wife, and he's got this huge billboard, and I'm like, I'm in publicity. I'm thinking, that won't last. It's flash in the pan. And then it was Regis and Kelly he was on, and then it was, Good Morning America, and then it was like literally he did all the morning talk shows. And then one night I came home and I saw him on Nightline, and I thought, this isn't good. Anybody in publicity knows that once you go from morning news to PM news, that's the story. So I just thought, we just need to wait it out a little bit. You know what? Weather the storm. Waited it out, weathered the storm. I'd only bought 90 days because it's very expensive on the world's busiest street. And waited and waited and waited. And no one picked up my story. And, my supportive sisters and girlfriends, and, they were all there to take pictures of my billboard and to be there when it was supposed to happen. But nothing happened. I got great proposals from New York men. Yo, Dana, what are you doing tomorrow at noon? You want to get married? right, entertaining, but not quite what I'm going for. Wendy Williams called me. And I guess she was walking along the Broadway strip, and she said, "You go, girl. I just turned the corner, and there you were. I'm so proud of you. Call me." And I called Felicia, who's a lifetime black doll, and I was like, some girl, Wendy Williams, called me. And Felicia always used to call me the non-publicist because, she knew the story before I did. And I'm like, well, who is she? And she's like, she's a really big radio personality in New York. And I was like, all right, I'll call her. So I called her, and she never called me back. And I called her again, and she never called me back. So finally, it was Wendy Williams. Respectfully, Wendy, I didn't know her at the time, so I didn't really push it, because I was really going for the Oprah Winfreys and, the people that I knew. Now I know, Wendy, that you're big. You're big. Point well taken. So we waited, and we sent out more packages and more resumes and more, ideas and more press releases, and nothing happened. Eventually, I started to put together a book of what I call a book of kudos, of which I still have to this day. And in that book was just the most loving emails that I got from black women who were struck by the campaign, by the billboard, who just wanted me to know that they were proud of me, that, thank you for representing, black girls. You don't ever see anybody darker than Halle Berry, and I'm so proud of you, and this is going to work, and, you go, girl, and atta girl, and just this amazing book of compliments from black women, which at the time was nice, but really didn't mean anything to me in terms of the goal. And so it started to near towards the end of the campaign, and Clear Channel called and said, "What you gonna do?" And I was like, expensive, 90 days, what are the odds? Nothing happened. So I had a decision to make. Go up another 90 days or even 30 days, or pack it up and move to Atlanta, which is where my family had headed. So after careful thought, careful consideration, I packed it up and moved to Atlanta. Because I thought, it's not working. It should have worked, but I think that corporate America is just a long way off from getting us, and little old me doesn't have time to spend my money trying to make them get it. So the billboard came down. That same week, Oprah decided she was going to make up with David Letterman. I'm sure you guys saw that because it was like national headline news. And when my billboard came down, international media came up, literally. It was David Letterman's studio, and the big story was Oprah and David are making up. And Oprah's got The Color Purple coming up, and she's debuting in this theater, which was literally minutes, seconds, a walk across the street from where my billboard used to be. And my mom called me and was like, "Turn on the TV." And, it was Oprah's night, and she went on David Letterman, and they showed her walk from her theater to his studio, and I want to say that it was, I forget the name, Breezes. Breezes took my billboard, and they showed the Breezes billboard. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, what is that about? What type of karma am I living out? So packed it up, moved everything to Atlanta, which is where my family had gone, leaving the hurricanes in South Florida. And one day I'm in my kitchen, 6 months later, I'm in my kitchen, not working, out of work, out of money, and just kind of really waiting to decide what am I going to do next. And, my girlfriends would call and be like, "What? Like, it's noon, you're at home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm at home." And everybody's just waiting for me to get back to work. And so Oprah became, my daily to-do. And I'm watching Oprah one day making spaghetti, and Kira Davis comes on. And she starts talking about the doll test, and I'm fascinated by it. And I don't know why, because I've never, and I don't even know if I should say this, but I've never played with dolls. I was never that doll girl. I wasn't. But here this girl was talking about her doll test and how she wanted to prove that not much had changed in terms of how a black girl feels about herself. And I just started to listen in, and now that I look back on it, I know that God was in the room because I was so into this story. And the old Dana would have been like, I don't want to hear about dolls. And I'm fascinated by the story, and I see Kira reconduct the doll tests. And when she shows, and the video is online so that you see it, but when she shows the little puffy-haired, she's got the little black girl with the afro puffs, when she goes to her and she asks her the series of questions, which doll looks like you, which doll's the pretty doll, which doll do you want to play with, and of course she fails miserably in terms of not picking the one that looks like her. I'm just literally, the spoon's down and I'm turned around and I'm just like, really? Really? This is terrible. But Kira asks the girl, well, let me ask you this. Which doll looks like you? This is seconds before she asked her, which doll do you want to play with? Which doll is the pretty doll? And the little girl looks at Kira with a lot of attitude, like, how dare you make me align myself with the bad, ugly black doll? And the Black Doll Affair was born. I was in tears, don't tell Joey this, but tears in the spaghetti. Maybe eyelashes. Had my own secret sauce. And I got off the phone, and just like that, it was looking back, Monday morning quarterbacking, to throw Dan back into it. I just realized that God had entered into the room and everything fell into place. I started talking, my mom called me, Valisha called me, Sherry called me, we all ended up on the phone. We called Christy, and we're just talking about how powerful it was and how that is every black woman's story. No matter what hue you are, there is this drama that goes on within the black family of, do we love ourselves? And are we accepted with the skin that we're in? And after the conversation, I went back into the internet, and every other email was, oh, Lord, did y'all see Oprah? I can't believe our kids still feel this way about themselves. This is just terrible, and just on and on and on and on and on. Until one day, after way too many emails of the same, this is pitiful, what are we going to do? Not much. Let's just pass around this email. And I thought, you know what? This is what we do as black people. We cry about it, but we don't really do anything about it. So who's going to do something about it? And when I said that out loud, I was like, okay, you're out of work. You're a marketer. You're a publicist. Do something about it. So I decided that I was going to have this Christmas party called the Black Doll Affair. And in my free time, I was going to get these beautiful living creatures that look like you to act as living dolls. And their sole mission was to remind a little girl of her beauty. Because what I knew for sure is that it's very hard to connect to a 6-year-old and explain to them why they failed this doll test. But what the Black Doll Affair Christmas party was supposed to do was have these beautiful, lifelike dolls walk into the room and strike these little girls and take their breath away. And I wanted them to show up with something that they could leave with them. And what do you leave with a little girl? A doll. So the concept behind the Christmas party was these living dolls giving away dolls. And that's where Be a Doll, Give a Doll came into place. That's our slogan. That is the Black Doll slogan. Be a doll, give a doll. And I got on the phone and I called up all the agencies in town, from Elite to Click, and then I called on the modeling schools, from Barbizon to any other school that was out there, and I said, I need black women, and I need for them to dress up as beautiful living dolls, and I need for them to show up at this Christmas party. And I knew I was onto something when these white women were answering the phone going, oh, that's a good idea. That's pretty cool, yeah. We'll have them donate their time, because you got to keep in mind they're agencies. They make money from making money. And finally, I saved the best for last. I called Elite, which is the best of the best in the industry in Atlanta. And I got them on the phone, and when they told me, yes, they'll do it, I thought, this is pretty good. I'm not sure where we're going with this, but it's going to be a great party. So we got all the girls together one night, and I met with them at Justin's, who decided that they would be our host restaurant, which is Puff Daddy's Place in Buckhead. And we all met in front of that big, gorgeous fireplace over macaroni and cheese, macaroni Tony and Nim, as I call them. And the girls were so excited. I'm going to be Hollywood Barbie. I'm going to be Harlem Barbie. I'm going to be the 40s Barbie. I'm going to be this. And I let them decide whatever they wanted to be. And we brought in hair and makeup artists, and we allowed them to create that look. And while they were deciding which Barbie they were going to be, I went back and started calling on the media because I needed someone to help me get the word out. And so after calling on several newspapers, we finally got a phone call, return phone call from Yvette Caslin of Rolling Out Magazine. And that's actually our original ad. And it very simply says, join Dana Hill in delivering a message of beauty. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And she picked up the phone and said, I love what you're doing. I got your email. How can I help? And I said, well, thank you for loving what I'm doing, and you can help me by giving me 4 quarter-page full-color ads leading up to Christmas, please. And she said, okay, and she did. And that ad allowed the community to get involved because we needed the community to show up and donate these dolls. And it was a beautiful evening when you started to see, and if you haven't done this yet, treat yourself to the day one photos in our clubhouse at Meetup. The day one photos are magical. You can see it in, how many by show of hands have seen the photos? Treat yourself, you too, to the day one photos. The girls are, there's just a glow. There's just something else happening there. And you see white women showing up, and you see men showing up, and everybody wants to tell me their story. There was a black grandmother that came in with her slave doll, and she's got this beautiful doll. If you ever come to my house, it's on the countertop. And it's handmade, and it's an African doll, and it's got the baby on the back. And the hair is salt and pepper, and just holding the doll and seeing the doll, it says so much. But she left it with a note, and it said, basically, little girl, this is a doll that my grandmother gave to me, and it's been in my family until now. Take good care of her. And obviously we didn't donate that doll because what we do throughout the community is when they call on the Black Doll Affair, especially in South Florida, they do a great job with this, to display dolls, we use them for that purpose. But it was one of many stories of people that wanted to not only donate dolls like the Sew and Style doll, but to donate dolls that were handmade by their grandparents. And at the end of the affair, after all the hair and makeup was done and all the dolls were donated, the girls were literally giddy, and they came up to me and they're like, oh my God, that was so cool. What are we going to do next year? I'm like, I don't know what y'all are going to do next year. I'm going to be working, hopefully. And then the next day I called on Christy, who's my baby sister, and I told her about the affair, and she said, I'm with them. I think that you should do something next year. As black women, we've been talking about this for so long. There's nobody out there that looks like we do, and here you are with an opportunity to tell the story, put it on Meetup. And I'd never heard of Meetup, and she had, and she just told me that Meetup was a great place to meet and to meet up with people and meet new people. And I went on the next day, and the rest is history. Meetup is the Black Dolls Clubhouse. You'll hear us refer to it as the Doll House. You'll hear us refer to it as the Clubhouse. You'll hear us refer to it officially as the Black Dolls Clubhouse at Meetup. But Meetup is our place to meet up. And if you're not online, or if you have someone who joins, when they join, they have to join Meetup, because until we spill into the community like so, all of our communication is done through Meetup. That's where we post our individual profiles. That's where every doll on the planet, right now there's almost 500 of us. That's where every doll in the world, every black doll in the world has her profile. So if you're going to Florida to lay on the beach in Miami for the weekend and you're a black doll, then you can go in and say, hey, Karen, I'm coming into town. Hey, Portia, I'm coming into town. There's a connection that's being made there because that's our clubhouse. And it is literally, as we mentioned earlier, that's where we go into the Cocoa Lounge, and the Cocoa Lounge is amazing. It's our virtual lounge. Go into the Cocoa Lounge, treat yourself, and go in, order a beer or order a green tea, whatever suits you. But you go in and you're telling everybody what's happening with you on that day. Hey, I'm having a bad day, or this is a great day, I got a promotion, or I'm not feeling so good, I need a Red Bull. But it allows us to connect with all of our dolls state to state. And don't just create a profile there, engage. Because if you don't remember much here tonight, remember that the experience will be with the connection that you make in the community, but it will also be online. This is an internet world, and so much is happening online. You're no longer new. So when you log into the clubhouse, the way it was done for you, make sure you greet a new member. When you log in, you can see, hey, there's a new member. Hey, girl, welcome to the clubhouse. Nice to see you. And that photo is real cute. Meet you in the Cocoa Lounge. Just engage. The experience is what you make of it. What happens within the Black Doll Affair is we do a great job at creating a great experience. But like with anything, you got to get involved. You got to get involved. So let's start with what you need to know. Now that you know our story and how we got started, let's start with the basics of what you need to know in terms of facts. All right? More than anything, if you haven't done already, know who Kenneth and Mamie Clark are. Know who they are. Everybody knows who they are? Okay, I won't put you on Front Street. I'm going to put you on Back Street, though. You need to know who they are. Know who they are. It's the reason why we exist. More importantly, it's the reason why our schools are desegregated. Okay? There was a little black girl, 8 years old. She's the Brown in the Board versus Education. She is the reason your children, nieces, nephews, whoever, sits next to a black child, a white child, an Asian child. She decided at 8 years old, this is how powerful one voice can be, no matter the age. She decided at 8 years old, Daddy, why do I have to walk so far to get to school? What's up with that? It was that one question that her father decided and went to the neighborhood, and on behalf of several parents in the neighborhood decided to sue the Board of Education and said, you know what, our kids deserve the same education as your kids, and we shouldn't have to walk that far to get to school. And Brown is an 8-year-old girl. Know her history, know her story, know about her father, know about Kenneth and Mamie Clark. They are a husband and wife psychologist team. They created the doll tests. When someone asks you, oh, I'm wearing it. When someone asks you, what's 1940s mean? You need to be able to answer that instantly. 1940 is when the doll test was created. That's when Kenneth and Mamie Clark created, knowing that our kids were adversely affected by slavery and that we were suffering from internalized racism. They said, what's the best way to display and let people know that this is happening? We'll use dolls. We'll use identical dolls. And the only difference is one's black and one's white. So they created this doll test. It's on our website. Get more of the story, but know the details of that story. You'll also hear 1954. 1954 is the Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court test. That's when they went into the Supreme Court and fought their case. And it is because, solely because, it was them and us in terms of the argument until the doll test came into play. And it is because of the doll tests that our children now go to school with a multicultural group of people. All right? So that's important. Know the details, know the dates. No Kenneth and Mamie Clark. They're gone. God rest their souls. Don't tell people that you can find them, down the street, because that's not true. Praise them. They're gone. But they are the reason that we exist. It is because of their original test that Kira decided, through her documentary, A Girl Like Me, that she wanted to reconduct the test. And she did that in Harlem, in a nursery school. And here we are. All right, so Brown, Board of Education, Kenneth and Mamie, 1940, 1954, Kira Davis. Kira Davis is so important because I'd been around for a long time before her Girl Like Me documentary. It wasn't until her documentary that I create and found the Black Doll Affair. All right, so it's also important to get to know Kira. Today we are 500 black dolls and growing. We have chapters in Atlanta, South Florida, Miami, New York, and LA. We are on the move, which means we are a movement. It's grassroots, and we're taking it around the country. Right now you're hearing a lot about the pit stop parties, and those are literally just, we're in celebration of the black doll and their affairs. This year is the 30th anniversary of the first African-American Black Barbie, and so you're going to get an email from me real soon with a press release that we're going to send out to everybody in the media saying, hey, nobody else is talking about it, but let's spotlight the fact that it's the 30th anniversary of Black Barbie. So look forward to that. Join that initiative. We have over 1,000 fans. What, 1,500? 1,600 in Facebook. If you haven't joined Facebook, get on the bus. We have a Twitter page. We have MySpace, which, anybody wants to do MySpace, we're open for it. I don't know how much longer MySpace is going to last, but we do have one. But anybody that's interested in running it, just call me. And then we have the Founders Barbecue blog, which is my blog spot. And when you get an email that says you're invited to the Founders Barbecue blog, and it happens all the time, hey Dana, I don't have the address. I didn't get the address. Yeah, where's the barbecue? I didn't get the address. It happens all the time. That is another website. It is a blog, literally. It's a blog spot. And it was created because you guys are amazing in terms of keeping me informed of what's happening within the world of the black dolls. And I get emails saying, did you hear this story about Costco's little monkey doll? Or did you hear that, Walmart told all the black folks to get out? And did you hear, there's all this stuff that my black dolls want to know. Like, what do you think about that? What we going to do, Dana? What we going to do? And so over the years, I thought, you know what? I get a lot of email. I got to do something with that. So that is literally Barbie, obvious, for doll. Q is the question and answer. Your questions, my answers. And so when you get that email, that's just me answering something, or that's me making some sort of announcement, like a special announcement. Most announcements will come through our clubhouse at Meetup. But if there's a special announcement, then you're invited to my barbecue, okay? You ain't got to bring the meat. It's I got you. All right? So those are our websites. The biggest website that you need to remember, which is a new one, is under construction, because we now have Stacy McBride, who is Mattel's African-American sew-and-style designer. I'm sure she's on the back of one of these. Yes. Stacy is our honorary black doll. Unfortunately, just weeks ago, she was here and we all had lunch with her. She'll be back though. But she is the designer of these dolls. And so the Sew and Style doll, which stands for SIS, is our official black doll. And why is it our official black doll? One, because Stacy McBride Irby is Mattel's African-American Barbie doll designer. She's been with them for almost 12 years. Most people don't know that. And these dolls were created in September of '09, and they are historical in that they are the first full line of black dolls. They've had their Christy doll, and they've had their Stephen doll, which ironically are the same names as my brother and sister. Some things are destiny. But these dolls, as you will see, they have the cis is an acronym for Sew and Style, but they also come with their little sisters. And they are so important because we have an opportunity, like Barbie, to create a legacy. These dolls can be around for the next 20 years. But it's up to us to buy them and support them. What we know for sure is that Mattel is like any other retailer. If we're not buying them, they're not making them, period. And so with Stacy designing them, if you Google her name, now we come up as well, which is kind of cool. But if you Google her name, there's a firestorm of controversy behind these dolls. Because on one hand, we're like, where are all the black dolls? But then on the other hand, we're conflicted at the counter, and so we're not really sure if we want to buy them because they're too black, or they're blue-black, or the lips are too big, or the hips are too wide, the noses are too wide, or the hair isn't kinky enough. And all I say to you is, black dolls, when you hear that conversation, and you will, tell everybody to shut up. No, I'm joking. Tell everybody that it's a start. And if we're conflicted at the counter, then they're not going to be there anymore. Period. There's a great doll that Mattel's making right now, the Basics doll. And it's a line of high fashion dolls, and they're all colors, but there's a Beyonce color, there's a Dana color, and there's a Deontay color. Who did I leave out? Yeah, that covers it, right? And so I think they've done a great job at covering us in terms of our hue. But in a class like this one day, literally here, a lady mentioned that she was offended that Mattel would make such an ugly blue-black Barbie doll. To the point where her sister was offended that was with her, the lady at the retail counter was offended, and they all decided that they were going to write a letter. Because why did they have to be so ugly and so blue-black? And we're all listening, you know, and I'm thinking, like, she was like, you know, I'm listening to her, and she's like, have you seen the doll? And I was like, yeah, I think she's beautiful. And she was like, beautiful? That's the word you want to use? And I was like, yeah, I think she's beautiful. And she was like, well, I don't know why they always have to make them so black when they get ready to make black dolls, and why do they have to be so ugly? And I was like, listen the whole time. And then before she started on her commentary, she said, and she's a black doll now, she said, I don't, no offense to you, Dana, you know, but these were blacker than you. And, you know, everybody's looking at me like, oh, Lord, Dana gonna take off her earrings. Take off the earrings. And I just said to her, and I said, are you finished? And she was like, yeah, I'm finished. And like seething mad, but it became a teachable moment for her. Because what I said to her was, isn't it fascinating that you preface your conversation with, no offense to you, Dana? I said, because we're all getting back from Super Bowl weekend in South Florida, and this one was so annoyed that the sun wasn't strong enough for me to get even blacker. Because I come from a whole chain of blue-black people, and to me, the bluer, the blacker I am, the more beautiful I am, the more unique I am, the more that I am the essence of being an African. I said, but the bigger question is, why are you so offended by a doll that's so blue and so black? I said, because let me tell you something. You don't see white people going, oh, Lord, Barbie, she's so blonde, she's so blue-eyed, she's so Scandinavian, that skin. I'm like, instead, they're white of white, they put on a pedestal. But when we fall past a certain color, that brown bag testing color, we're offended, and we want to write a letter to Mattel. I said, but more importantly, forget my opinion. Imagine if all you grown folks had been standing in front of a blue-black girl in front of you, who heard all of you adult women say, how dare Mattel make a doll that looks like you? I said, what message are you sending her? That she's not beautiful, she's not good enough. How dare they make a doll that looks like her? So it was a teachable moment for her, and she apologized to us, but I asked her not to, because that is what you guys have to understand as black dolls. The reason why you are here is to know that we come from a whole dysfunction of who we are, of who we are. You'll hear me interchange that word a lot, who and who, because I feel like it is a direct connection. who we are is who we are. And you're either right with that or you're conflicted with it. But as a black doll, you got to get right with it. Because our other unofficial slogan is each one teach one. And you can't be in line arguing about some blue-black doll. You got to embrace that. Because that blue-black doll is a reflection of who we are. Period. There is somebody that looks like that doll. And my quote that you'll hear and see in regular press releases is a doll is more than a toy. It's a reflection of who and who we are. All right? So defend the doll. And when people start talking about that, the lips, there is a whole, and I left it. If you go to the DC chapter, there's a whole firestorm of conversation about her dolls when they came out. And I just let it literally blow up. And finally said, this is why we're here. Why are we so offended that these dolls are so ethnic looking? And why? That's why we failed the doll test. And the doll test is not about these little girls. It's about these big girls too. Because we're those same little girls and we just grew up to wear a bigger size pant. But we still have that same ideology of what beautiful is. And even though we say we think we're beautiful, we don't really believe that. Because here was a woman wearing our t-shirt, signed up for the Black Doll Affair, proud to be a black doll, going, how dare they make a doll that blue-black. So just know where you come from, but also understand where you're going. We come from slavery, we come from hatred. We have been stripped of our pride. And so you have to understand that at any given moment, subconsciously, you don't like who you are. And we all suffer from it. But when you put on this t-shirt, sorry, it's the microphone. When you put on the t-shirt, that is a reminder of who you are. All right? Okay. The Black Doll Affair is growing. And so these women we call ambassadors. And ambassadors are there to help lead the way. And they are not better than anybody. They're not better than you. They're not better than me. They're not better than anybody. They are just women that said, we're growing and I want to help. And if you have questions or if you send me an email and it's like 2 days, 3 days, then call on an ambassador, because on average I'm about 500 emails a day. And it's great, it's beautiful, but y'all send me everything you're thinking. It's not like, oh, well, let me just send Dana a really important email. No, Dana, I was thinking. And that's cool, but that becomes a backlog, and I'm not at all complaining. But if you don't get your answers answered, you can log on in our clubhouse and reach out to an ambassador, or you can go to blackdollaffair.com and there's a list of leaders that you can contact. We call the Black Doll Affair Baby Dumbo because we're only 2 years old, and yet we have Black Doll Affair Day in the city of Atlanta. It's been proclaimed by our mayor, our governor, Congressman John Lewis, who fought with Martin Luther King for our rights, and a host of senators and city leaders like Kwanzaa Hall, who's a black doll brother. We have our own day. That's not something that I expected to happen within 2 years. I just didn't. But thanks to our queen, oh, hell the queen as we like to call her, Queen Meriwether, who couldn't be here tonight, but she decided in her political circle that we needed to be heralded. And she started telling people in the community, leaders in the community, about us. And so a resolution was put together, and finally a proclamation was put together, and December 12th is Black Doll Affair Day in the city of Atlanta, which is huge. We've been invited to the White House. We went. The night that President Obama was elected, the Black Dolls got all geared up in front of Martin Luther King's church and Coretta and Martin's tomb. And we're all with our candles and with literally thousands, way too many people, thousands of people in the city of Atlanta with our candles and our t-shirts in front of their tomb, waiting to see if that boy, Barack, can he do it? And Mr. President, you did it. And while we were standing there with our candles, a lady came up to us and said, to one of our dolls, and basically kind of like the Superman thing, "Take me to your leader." She did. And she came up and she was like, "We have all of these dignitaries here, Congressman John Lewis, Mr. Lowry, Jesse Jackson, I mean, you name it, they were all there. And we want the black dolls to lead them into the church." We were just coming off of 1 year, right? And so we did that. And that was huge. Since then, we've been spotlighted on Essence magazine. When we first started, we used to call on Mattel constantly. They never answered. And now we've got, their publicists and their operations people, and Stacy. And, Stacy McBride stayed in my house, which, I'm literally like, here's the story behind Stacy. We went to D.C., kicked off, and Christy, my baby sister, helping us put these dolls in the car. She had just kicked off these dolls. There weren't very many. And as fate would have it, as God would put it, Stacy's doll fell out. Christy picked it up, turned it on the back, and was like, "Wow, did you know that?" And I'm like, "No, what?" And she was like, "Mattel has a black designer. A black designer designed this doll." And I'm like, "Wow, no, I didn't know that." So, she slams the doll in my chest, as only my baby sister can, and says, "Contact her, and don't let that be the good advice you didn't take." And so I did contact her, and, I'm not a big fan of Facebook, I have to say, because I'm a big fan of Meetup, because that's where my dolls are. And Stacy befriended me, and I didn't know it. So I get a phone call from Christy, and Christy says, "You'll never guess who befriended me on Facebook. It's Stacy McBride." So then we go online, and we're checking it out, and I'm like, "Oh, she befriended me too." So I'm like, okay, she contacted us. So when Stacy came, fast forward, to our house, so down to earth, fabulous woman, you're going to love her. I'm literally laying in my bed, and I touch Joe, and I'm just like, "Stacy McBride is staying in our house." Stacy McBride is in our guest room. And so that's cool, not for any other reason that we're going places. That the Black Doll Affair is Baby Dumbo, and that it is this huge entity that is getting so much bigger than we expected so quickly. And so when you put on this t-shirt, know that you've become a part of a movement that, be careful in your heels, because you need to put your flip-flops on and just get on the bus, because you allow them to break your ankle if you don't just hop right on. It is going so quickly. And the love that is within this club is amazing. And there are 3 words that you absolutely have to remember, words and phrases, when you leave here. If you don't remember anything, remember this, because this will take you a very long way. Love, family, and big girl panties. Love, family, and big girl panties. You'll see me sign off on emails on that sometimes. You'll see it in the Cocoa Lounge where people are like, "Ooh, put my big girl panties on today." But it happens. And if you can remember, because we are a sisterhood. Sisterhood, does that not say everything? Hormones at any given time of the month were nice or not so much. Personality, strengths, too strong. There is a love that has to take place in order to stay, because we're not always feeling each other. But if the love is there, we can get past that. When we band together as a black doll, this little black band that everybody puts on when you get your t-shirt, it is like a wedding band, where it's not just decoration, and we don't just say, we don't ever take it off for any reason. We keep it on because not only does it go good at pool parties, but you can take it to the White House as we did, but we keep it on to remember why we became a black doll. It ain't about me, or what I might have said to you, or what situation might occur that offended you, or any conflict that we might be in. It is about, oh yeah, I band together with the black dolls to remind a black girl of her beauty. And so this particular incident, which will pass, means nothing. And that's where it goes into family, because you have to do the same thing with family. As much as we want to kick them to the curb at any given moment, they're family. They're not going anywhere. And you're committed to them. And so when you band together, you're committed to love, and you're committed to family. And when I annoy you, or when Deontay annoys you, or Tanisha, or Lauren, or Lisa, Judy, Takaya, anybody, or even, somebody that comes on board that, maybe just crossed you the wrong way in an email or a greeting. Like, what did that mean? Big girl panties. And I can promise you, girls in you have to put your big girl panties on. And that is what keeps you a black doll. Because absolutely guaranteed something is going to offend you. Some rule is going to seem too much for you. Some incident is going to seem ridiculous to you. Some email is going to be a little too pushy for you, too overpowering. Something might be too expensive that you want to go to. There's going to be something to offend you, period. And that's when you slip on your big girl panties and wait for the storm to pass. And everybody has to do it. I am the alpha, if you will, of the Black Doll Affair, which makes me the rule enforcer. And I take that so seriously because I don't want this to become some social club of, God forbid, Atlanta housewife type drama. Where people are snatching off hair weaves. We ain't trying to do that. That's not you or who we are. No. That's not who we are. We are a sisterhood, and you will hear it constantly. You will hear it constantly. And you will experience it always if you can remember love, family, and big girl panties. There is nothing like the sisterhood of a Black Doll Affair. This is your first stop. When you have your first play date, it's going to be amazing. And that's because all of these girls stopped here first to find out, I need to leave my ego at the door. Check the ego. And the biggest thing outside of that phrase, love, family, big girl panties, check the ego. The minute it becomes about you, you might as well take your leg off and start kicking yourself in the butt right out the door. Because if you start saying, I don't want to do this, or I don't think this is that way, or I don't think they should be doing this, or well, guess what? Bye. Because it ain't about I. And when you start to use that phrase a lot, when it starts to become like, focus on me, focus on me, focus on me, focus on me, you're out of here. And one, because we'll ask you to go bye-bye. First, we'll ask you to put your big girl panties on and remember love, family, and big girl panties. But if you can't, and a lot of people can't, every single doll that has ever left the Black Doll Affair, it is because it was about her, and she could not put her big girl panties on. She couldn't remember why she started in the first place. Only thing she could remember is, I don't like this, and I don't like that. It wasn't about the friendships she made. It wasn't about the bond. It wasn't about the Christmas deliveries, which are forever engraved in our minds. It became about, who does Dana think she is? And the ambassadors are just Stepford wives. And I don't like this, that, and the third. And it was just needed a little bit more growth. It's about spiritual growth. And if you can get to the point, God has sent you here. If you can get to the point where you can put on those big girl panties and realize, I'm going to play well with others, and I understand that I'm not going to always like them, but I do like what we stand for, you'll be just fine. Love, family, big girl panties. Cool? Cool. Take you anywhere. Classy ladies. You're now a role model. When you put on this t-shirt, you're a role model. You are a role model. When you show up in that t-shirt, be it at Publix or at a Christmas delivery, people are looking at you. And so you want to look good in the t-shirt. You don't want people going, is she trying to say she looked like a doll? Because I don't see that. You absolutely want people to go, oh yeah, Black Doll, look at you, girl. So slip on the t-shirt, role model, fabulous hair, fabulous makeup, fabulous poise, fabulous personality, fabulous smile, fabulous. So that little girl who's too shy to come up to you can at least look at you and admire you and say, I want to be like her. I want to look like her. You're a role model. Or for the woman who maybe got beat up that morning because she's with a husband that likes to beat up on women. But she sees you come into the line and she goes, one day I'm strong enough, I'm going to get strong enough to look like her. role model. Don't wear the t-shirt if you're not feeling it. We don't want to run into you at Cobb Mall disturbed. We just don't. You know, everybody always asks all the time in these classes, well, can I wear my gear outside of a play date? Yes, you can, because we're on a move. And when you show up in your gear, you're moving our movement, because people will Google that shirt. They will Google the shirt. And so, yes, you can. But if you feel like, you know, last night you didn't get in till 6 and you look like, you know, toe up from the flow up, make me want to throw up, don't do it. Don't do it. Put on your Gap shirt or Levi's, whatever. Not the Black Doll shirt.
Okay, it's perfect. It's perfect.
There we go.
Perfect. We're ready. We're ready.
We ready?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're ready.
We need a song.
I told you we needed a song.
Wrote something about it like the here stuff. Oh, hey, are we taping? Okay, so I'm not going to even try to pretend that our set hasn't changed. Here's the deal. Our set is going to continue to change because the Black Dolls are on the move. We joked earlier about how you should step out as a Black Doll. Do you? Make me proud. Stick to the gear, black leggings, t-shirts, fabulous hair and makeup. These ladies behind me are what we call ambassadors. This is Ambassador Yolanda. This is Ambassador Tahaya. And Ambassador Marquita. Aren't they gorgeous? You, too, are a spokesmodel for the Black Doll Affair now. And almost ready to step out and represent. But there's one more pit stop before hitting the playground. Here's the deal. Log on to Meetup, our Meetup, which is the Black Dolls Clubhouse at Meetup. You'll also hear us refer to it as the Black Doll House. Click on the calendar link. Find my Founders Playground Policies class. There, you're going to go to a cool party headed up by the playground monitors, the ambassadors, and meet and greet new and vintage dolls. But the thing about that class is that you got to take it because that's where you're going to learn all there is to know about policies and procedures. It's fun, it's quick, it releases you to the playground. From there, you're free to be a doll, give a doll. And I can't wait, y'all. All right, so that's my story. Make it your own. I'm going to stick with it. I want you to find a way to make the story as entertaining as I did, but in a way that's unique to you. All right? As our spokesmodels, we need for you to be able to tell that story, know the history. I just want to leave you with one last thing. Love, family, and
Big girl panties.
okay? Love, family, big girl panties, and don't break up the band.
Welcome to the Black Doll Affair.